Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us on our special presentation for the World Cup Kings of Cricket. I'm Shivani Gupta, and joining me is our World Cup panel. Graham Swan, Murli Karthik, Ayaz Memon will all be with us as we look forward to the last India group stage match, their performances so far, and of course, what's coming up or what's in store in the knockouts with the semi-finals up. First up, Team India are table toppers of the group stage in this ODI World Cup 2023, and they've had a stupendous run. The men in blue have reached their 8th semi-final in this format of the World Cup, equaling New Zealand and just behind Australia. Indian bowlers as well as batters have been in sublime form, and the unit is performing like a well-oiled machine. There are, frankly, no chinks in the armor that have been exposed so far. In fact, every time the Indian team was challenged, they've come up trumps and in flying colors. So first up, let's take a recap of the Indian performance so far.
What a run it's been for Team India. Rohit Sharma and company have won every match in the group stage and will be aiming to continue the same in the knockout stages as well. The men in blue are the table toppers and were the first team in the 2023 ODI World Cup to qualify for the semi-finals. The opener versus Australia was one to remember. The Kangaroos lost all of their wickets at 199 runs, and Indian bowlers were praised by everyone. It wasn't an easy chase for India. The men in blue lost 3 batters at a very early stage. But Virat Kohli and KL Rahul's heroics saved the day for Team India. Next was Afghanistan. Rohit Sharma was unstoppable as he scored a superb century. After this match, Captain Rohit broke a barrage of records and cemented his name in the history books. But now it was time for a bigger challenge. It was time to face the dark horse, Pakistan. Even in this match, Pakistan's batters had no answer to Indian bowlers, and they just managed to score 191 runs. The match versus Bangladesh will always be remembered for Virat Kohli's extraordinary performance. King Kohli scored a century, and now he was just one step away from levelling Sachin's 49 centuries in ODIs. Then came the battle of invincibles, India versus New Zealand. Team India had failed to register a victory against the Kiwis in 20 years, but this time they broke the jinx and crushed the Black Caps by 4 wickets. Nobody expected this, but the next 3 matches were like a cakewalk for India. In these 3 matches, India batted first and managed to give a defendable target for their opponents. Take a look at the results yourself. India won by 100 runs against England, by 302 runs against Sri Lanka, and by 243 runs against South Africa. Surely the bowling unit of all the other teams wanted to have what Indian bowlers were having. Now the men in blue are the favourites to win the World Cup. 1 billion people at home are also praying that India continues to destroy their opponents and wins the prestigious trophy for the 3rd time.
And joining me now is our World Cup panel, Graham, Karthik, Ayaz. Thanks a lot for joining us. Karthik, let me begin with you about the Indian performance. What has impressed you the most? Or if at all, there are any worries for you as we, look forward to the knockout stage?
So I'll start with the second question first. The only worry for me is that this is the time when actually the games or the World Cup starts for us. And the reason why I say that is in the last few years or every time we've been in a World Cup competition or an ICC event, it's the semi-final where we have suddenly started playing slightly frigid cricket. You take the the WTC finals, be it selection calls or the way you approach the game, after having bossed other games to suddenly come to a certain game and think that, oh, now we are in this, how do we go about it? The selection calls, as I said, and slightly tepid cricket is what we have played. So we need to guard against that. What has impressed me the most? The first thing is everybody is in form. And as you rightly mentioned, every time we have been in some sort of hot water or some sort of a sticky situation, somebody has been there to bail us out. Not that we have needed it too often. And the most important thing is that we have fielded really well. Barring one game, our fielding has been outstanding, so much so that everyone is talking about our fielding unit as being the best in the world. So it's heartening to see the bowlers, everyone, all of them firing together. It's not that one has to get wickets, but all of them have been bowling beautifully. So you can't ask for more. As I said, it's about guarding against complacency, and secondly, let's not play frigid cricket anymore.
Graham, I'm wondering what the discussion is going to be amongst the dressing rooms that have played against India, almost everyone barring the Netherlands, and those who can face India next, for the knockouts, the likes of Australia, the likes of South Africa, the likes of New Zealand, because all of these teams did struggle against India. So what is it, if there is anything that anyone can do differently when they face India next?
Absolutely. The best thing that India have done throughout this tournament is absolutely destroy these teams. Even against Australia, when they showed, 3 early wickets, and any other team in the world you'd think would panic and then crumble. They then cruised and won the game against arguably the best team attack in world cricket. So each time that India have come up against one of the supposedly stronger teams in the tournament, they've absolutely wiped the floor with them. And that does have an effect on the losing change room. You get to the point where you think, well, how can we beat these? We need a lot of these guys to have an off day at the same time. And I'm absolutely with Murali Kartik. If you get to the semi-finals and change the way you play India, that is when you can come unstuck. All teams are fearing India at the minute because of the dynamic, aggressive, proactive form of cricket they're playing. If they then suddenly try and go a little bit safety first, let's just cover a few bases, let's not take too many risks, that's when you let other teams in. That's what the other teams are desperately hoping for. I can't actually see this Indian team doing that. I think in the past, there's always been one or two places, one or two spots in the batting order, or one bowler who's not quite performing as well as the others. This Indian team, from 1 to 11, they're all absolutely on top of their game. That means that there's no need for the selectors to play tepid cricket, to make slightly defensive decisions. So I just think as an opposition, the last team you want to play at the minute with the home advantage and the form they've got is the Indian side. You're hoping to sneak into the final the other way and then just hope, I don't know, that 3 of them don't set their alarm clocks and they're all timed out. The bus driver gets lost and you get given the cut by default.
Actually, Graham, you touched upon a very interesting point. I want to take that forward with Ayaz as well, because as journalists, how many times have we been talking and writing about how disappointing it's been when India gets to the knockouts and then, suddenly we don't look that good anymore. But could this team be in danger of that? Or as Graham says, this team is looking different, even than the others who looked very good till the knockout stages?
Shivani, on the evidence of what we've seen of India in the last 8 matches, I think I would go with what Swani said, that there just doesn't seem to be any chink in the armor. We've lost in 2015 and 2019 in the semi-finals. There was a stumble in both games. We lost it in half an hour of batting against New Zealand. We lost 3 wickets and the match was gone. So too in 2015, the bowlers did extremely well in both tournaments. Both tournaments, the batting let us down. Now, stumbles can happen. This is, after all, sport. There's pressure. There's human frailties and so on and so forth. But they've played flawless cricket as of now against Australia. 3 wickets down for 2 runs. You go out and win that match, and then after that, this a succession of victories, each getting better than the other.
Yes.
So it doesn't seem to me that you need to peak from here or you need to plateau. I just think that they need to play as they've been doing. They found a game plan to fight back in every match whenever there's been a crisis.
What about that law of averages that everybody keeps fearing in sports?
No, if we want to be a cynic, we can be a cynic till kingdom comes home. I think the most important thing, and I've been quoting the Australia of 2003, they never thought about these things. Or the Australian team of that, or those 4-5 years, they never thought about losing. They didn't even, I don't think that even stemmed into their brains that they can ever lose. And you think of 2003, India lost to Australia, and that's about it. Australia didn't lose to anybody in South Africa. So you can be a dominant force, but for me, again, it comes down to because of what we have seen recently. It's about it's a sort of a leaderboard syndrome. in golf, there's something called a leaderboard syndrome, that you're on top of the leaderboard and suddenly you think, oh, I need to play because I'm doing better than others, and you suddenly go frigid and then you come down the leaderboard. I just hope and pray that India doesn't go through that, because we've seen that WTC twice, against Australia this year at the Oval, at Southampton against New Zealand, the kind of things which we did, and suddenly you're thinking, is this the best test team in the world? And even in ICC competitions, you reach a stage and then suddenly India is doing things which we have not seen them do. You've bossed the tournament and suddenly you behave like, oh, you're trying to be one of the also rans. So that is something which you want to guard against as the Indian team.
I don't think this team is suffering from that mindset, though.
I hope so. I hope so.
In sports, of course, as all of us know, anything is possible. Now, although India is already into the semi-finals and they will end as table toppers regardless of what happens, they will like to keep this run going in their final group stage match, which is versus the Netherlands on Sunday. Team India, as I said, is hoping to remain unbeaten before the knockouts. Netherlands are hoping not to finish at the bottom of the table with a third win for them. They had earlier beaten South Africa and Bangladesh. In this match, there is a possibility that Rohit Sharma could look to rest the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, for example, bring in Prasidh Krishna, who came in for an injured Hardik Pandya into the squad. They could even blood in Ishan Kishan, Shardul Thakur, maybe bench a few of the regular players. So that match, which is India's final group stage match, the final group stage match of the World Cup, is India versus Netherlands at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore. Swani, do you think at this stage, when you're looking to maintain, your run and everything else, would the Indian team bother to rest because of the fear that they could maybe just suddenly lose their momentum?
He might. I would warn against that completely. I think as a player within a team, I wouldn't want to be the bowler who's rested for a game just in case somebody gets injured down the road. I would cross that bridge when I get to it. If you suddenly get to the final and a bowler pulls up injured, you back the fact that the guy who's in waiting has been training hard and he's ready to go. You hope that never happens. And I think to actually throw someone in to give him a bowl, the guy who misses out, suddenly he's a game behind and he's got to catch up again. I don't like it at all. I think if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Yes. You keep that winning team on the park. You keep them winning their games. You keep the momentum. And I mean, it's the snowball effect. The momentum that the Indian team have got right now, I mean, it's going to wipe out the village at the bottom of the mountain. It's that strong. So keep it going. Keep it rolling.
Yeah, I ask you, agree with that. Don't make any changes. No need to try anything out of the ordinary, anything different. What's working for you is working for you. Just don't touch it right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, there's no question now of work overload and stuff like that, because you're just about 3 matches away from winning the title. And yes, this is Netherlands and it's a weaker opposition. You don't have to fight and scrape and scramble for getting a place in the semis. It's already yours. But this is where you want the team to gel even better. What I would say is that, it's just a confidence booster. If you're a Shami or a Siraj, and here we're talking more about the bowlers. When it comes to resting players, it's always about the bowlers, it's not about the batsmen for some reason. So I think that, there's no need to rest anybody, not even Jasprit Bumrah, though he's come back from injury and stuff like that. This is a team which is now primed, in a sense, to win. They can only beat themselves with a full. That's the way I see it.
Overall, as far as the match itself is concerned, Karthik, any thoughts on what kind of a challenge the Netherlands could pose for India? Of course, they're known as the giant killers. They've done great credit to their cricket and to their country. But this is going to be a tough one for them, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. As Swani rightly mentioned, the kind of effect which India have had on world cricket at the moment, everybody looking at this World Cup, everybody is in awe of the way India have played, literally decimated the opposition. So from India's point of view, again, it's that, do you want to take your eye off the ball? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure everybody is well rested. It's a long tournament. There are enough gaps. And I'm pretty sure me and Ayaz are willing to put our hand up if anybody needs an extra masseur for the bowling lineup. We are willing to come and do the massage work for them. Both hands, and we are good at it. So I don't think that is something which is required. So yeah, the only thing is, will India want to take their eye off the ball? I don't think they would want to. It's a slate which you want to remain very, very clean, and going into the semi-finals, by the looks of it, it seems that it's going to be New Zealand once again. And again, New Zealand were the ones which got India out of the 2019 World Cup. So it'll be interesting. I don't think so. Netherlands should pose any challenge, Shivani.
Yeah. Well, we'll move forward to the semi-finals now. As Karthik mentioned, New Zealand have all but booked their place in the semi-final, which will be against India. They had a dominant 5-wicket win with 160 balls to spare against Sri Lanka. That result took them to 10 points with a net run rate of 0.743 and leaving Pakistan needing to beat England by almost 300 runs if they are to surpass New Zealand's net run rate. That New Zealand performance was also the product of an all-round performance with bat and ball. Despite the loss of late wickets, Sri Lanka's total of 171 was comfortably dealt with. Devon Conway, Rachin Ravindra, Darren Mitchell all pitched in with 40s. And earlier it was the Kiwi bowlers that shared the wickets amongst them. But it was Trent Bowles, 3 for 37, which was the defining performance that put his side on top and earned him the player of the match as well. So this is the equation as it stands. Pakistan and England play their final group match on Saturday. England is looking to play for pride, while Pakistan have a near impossible equation to qualify. As I said, they either need to beat England by 300 plus runs or win in just about 20 balls if they were chasing. Other than that, the semi-finals look like this. It's India versus New Zealand at the Wankhede, the first one, and South Africa, Australia in the second one, which will be played at the Eden Gardens. So, Swani, is England up for the challenge against Pakistan?
We are on a roll now, I tell you this. We've beaten the Dutch, we've beaten Holland, and now we're flying. We're not going to finish bottom of this group. You know, let's face it, they are the semi-finals. We all know that, barring a miracle. You know, Pakistan, having said that, actually, of all teams in the world who could suddenly win a game by 300 runs, Pakistan are that team. We all know that. I can't see it happening in this trip. I actually feel for Pakistan a bit. I think they've got a very good team. They're very close to being one of those top 4 teams. But they just they hit the skids, didn't they, in this tournament and didn't recover in time.
Don't forget, the fact. No, but Swani, don't forget the fact that they were even in contention for the semis because they beat New Zealand after they scored 400 runs on Duckworth Lewis. So I think they already had their luck to even be in contention.
Okay, well, I'll take that. But I think what we've ended up with are the 4 best teams in the semi-final. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I think India will be. I don't know if India will be happy with New Zealand in the semi-final, or the ghosts of the past will haunt them a little bit, and they'll worry about that. But I think whoever they play in the final, I'm backing India to beat New Zealand in a semi-final and end up. And I know full well it's going to be Australia because I don't want it to be Australia. No Englishman wants to see Australia in the World Cup final. But, you know, they beat Afghanistan in a game where no other team in the world would win that game. And Glenn Maxwell single-handedly won the game. So it's going to be those top 4 teams. And I think on reflection of the whole World Cup, it's a very fair reflection. Australia started terribly the first couple of games, but have been excellent ever since. South Africa, they've had that slip up against the Netherlands, and then they were soundly beaten by India. So India should still feel very happy with the position they're in, even though, as the guys have said so far, the knockout stages, it suddenly form goes out the window and it's all about on the day. That brings its own challenges, but I think this Indian team is more than up to it.
You know, interestingly, Ayaz, there is another way to look at these, who India would have liked to face. I think New Zealand, despite the fact that they had a bit of a New Zealand Kiwi monkey on their back, which they would claim that by beating them in the group stage comprehensively, I think India's got that monkey off their back, but that's the group stage. Knockouts are always different. But you look at the other teams, Australia, I don't think any team wants to come up against Australia right now. If it has to be, then it better be, the finals. And even South Africa, while India really pummeled them, it is still possibly not the team they would like to face in the semi-finals. Out of these 3, I think India would be happy that they're playing New Zealand.
Yes, I mean, look, now, of course, there's no choice. They have to play New Zealand. But I think that, there's a lot of similarities between the 2 teams. If you look at it, the way the top order has been working for them, so too has, South Africa's, but not to the extent, the consistency you find in New Zealand. Even Australia's top order has been struggling a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You take away a Warner occasionally who's been failing, and then there's Labuschagne and Smith and, Josh English, who they're not getting the runs as consistently. But here, you've got Rachin Ravindra, there's also Williamson has come back, and they've got Darrell Mitchell. They bat very deep. They're very much like India in that sense. They've got spinners who are coming good, especially Mitchell Santner. And they've got fast bowlers who are very familiar with Indian conditions and Indian batsmen, extremely familiar. Because even Mitchell Stark is not as familiar because he's not been playing IPL consistently in the past 4, 5, 6 years. But Trent Bolt and Tim Southee and some of the others, they've always been here. So I think that this is a good matchup. Last time when they met, New Zealand seemed to run out of steam. They looked good to make 325, 330, 340. They fizzled out and made it a little easier for India. That is something that they will be bearing in mind, that we can't allow ourselves to fizzle out. And India should bear in mind that this team is capable of getting 325, 330. So you have to pull them down, pull them back. That's the way I would put it.
Karthik, your thoughts on the Lips backing semi-finals we seem to have lined up for ourselves?
Look, everybody is going to pose different challenges, and you're extremely right, Shivani. The way Australia have kickstarted their campaign after those initial 2 games has been phenomenal. Actually, they are the team in form. South Africa, obviously, they've had a few hiccups. New Zealand is very interesting because they've had their ups and downs, but they always seem to punch really strongly together. And their batting is extremely mouth-watering. When you look at it, I'm very impressed by the way Rachin Ravindra is batting. We saw him when he came for the 2 Test match series, but just the way he's flourished in this tournament in the company of Devon Conway and Daryl Mitchell is a delight to watch. Kane Williamson obviously is going to be that hub around whom everybody is going to work. And they've got an interesting ball. Their spinners are good. Mitchell Santner has been bowling beautifully. When you think of all the finger spinners in world cricket now, he's possibly the best the way he's bowling for me personally in any conditions, any situation. So it's not an easy semi-final for any of them. South Africa, Australia is as mouth-watering as it gets. Again, South Africa have a different monkey to throw off their back because they've been called chokers after reaching semi-finals. India have actually had an issue with New Zealand and the last 2 semi-finals. So it's going to be interesting. And look, Australia have got this funny knack of winning. You think of 2015, maybe they were playing at home, but were they the best side? There were other teams who were playing better cricket, but they still won. So they've got this funny knack of winning these world titles. So it'll be interesting, mouth-watering again for me. And I don't think India, just because they won against New Zealand, they can say that, oh, we've got the monkey of the back. They're pretty sure that at the back of their heads, they'll be thinking, oh, we have come up cropper against this side and they're up against us again in the semi-finals.
All right. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. We will, of course, here on CNN News 18 on Kings of Cricket build up to the semi-finals. So you can continue to watch out for that coverage. But for today, thanks a lot for joining us.